What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to What's Your Story? So today I have someone I met back at Springfield, continuing the Springfield trend. And he's actually been brought up multiple times on the show from my buddy Dustin Wilson, Mike Hoey, Andy Triana. So someone that obviously is well respected and has influenced a lot of people over the last 4, 5, 6 years. Since I got to know him, and it's been really cool. I'm excited that he took the time to get us on, and he's someone I definitely have a lot of respect for. And I valued his opinion on a lot of things, especially back when we were at Springfield when it came to coaching and training. And he's doing a lot of big things now with coaching and impacting athletes, the general pop, and just doing a lot of things that I think a lot of people want to be doing in the fitness industry. So he's definitely someone to look to for advice and definitely reach out to if you have questions. So with all that being said, CJ, I want to welcome you to the show, man.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. I've been watching a few different of these ones.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Like I said, you're kind of like the hidden guy. Like I tried to do a little research on you, even though we do each other a little bit. But it was hard to get some information on you more than what I've kind of known over the years. So I'm excited to learn a little bit about you and kind of how you got to where you are, man. So I want to just go back to the beginning. You know, we met at Springfield, exercise science, all that stuff, strength conditioning. But I want to go back to kind of where you got started. How did you get into like fitness or training or coaching? When did all that start?
So I got into lifting and fitness in general really early. My sort of quick background, like my main like quote sport growing up was I would just study karate. And so I did that from age 4 until about age 18. So huge part of my life. And my favorite part by far was sparring. So I really liked hitting people. And I noticed that as I started lifting, sort of my dad kind of got me started my dad and I, when I was in 5th grade, I think 4th or 5th grade, we started lifting. And by lifting, we did the same exact routine over and over and over again for about 3 or 4 years. And it was like dumbbell bench press, just different shoulders, curls. I think we squatted maybe like 5 to 10 times, if that.
It was like legs.
Oh yeah, occasionally we did legs. Now all I love doing is legs, but it was like a lot of dumbbell bench press, a lot of stuff, and we just like slowly built up and got more and more equipment, and I slowly got more and more into it as we just kind of learned more things and grabbed more things. But I noticed I got a lot better at putting my foot in someone's chest as I got stronger and faster. So I just kind of kept going with the lifting, and then I believe it was my freshman year of high school, a strength coach named Leanne Blinn, who's now head of Olympics at Arizona, I want to say. She opened up a private facility in my town, Holliston, and I started training there. And so, actually, it's funny. So the guy I worked with there, so Leanne was the owner. I worked with her occasionally. The guy who I got coached by the most, Kevin O'Neill, is now actually the head strength conditioning coach at Nobles High School, which is the high school that is in my high school's league. So the school I work for, it's in their league. So I actually go against him now. It's kind of funny. But I started going there, started learning more and more about strength conditioning and like all the different aspects and how you don't have to do all of the same exercises over and over and over again, the same exact one each week, each day, same exact thing. Just kind of learned more and more. And then I had a conversation with Kevin and I had a conversation with Leanne about sort of the industry. And I was kind of debating between wanting to do athletic training and wanting to do strength conditioning, like exercise science, like which one really fit for me. And Leanne said something that was really, really profound. She's like, I used to study athletic training, and then I was really interested in making things happen and not waiting for things to happen. And I was like, oh, damn.
It just clicked.
Yeah, that clicked. I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I'm just going to go do that. I was like, I'd really rather just like be in the weight room, getting after it with people than sitting on the sidelines, waiting for things to happen. And like, all due respect to athletic trainers, they're super important. They're great people, but I just wanted to be a strength coach.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. Do you think at like a young age, I didn't know the karate part of you, do you think at a young age that started to create that discipline to training and building upon that? Especially even doing the workouts every day. It may have not been the most efficient thing, but that discipline of doing the same thing, almost that monotonous side of it, had to build some discipline for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it was multiple times a week, like going through the forms over and over again. I'd come home, sleep. Next day we'd have off from like our forms and our like quote quote like karate training. But my mother had done karate when she was younger too, so it was like standing in horse stances, still practicing punches, still practicing kicks. Like it was still doing some core work. Like it was still like a lot of discipline, getting after it all the time.
Yeah, it's cool. I didn't know that. So you went through high school. Did you do sports in high school? And then if so, kind of what did you do when you were in high school? Were you an athlete growing up?
Athlete is a strong word.
Right.
So I mean, I did karate all through high school. I did basketball starting in 5th or 6th grade, and I did it up until being a junior or sophomore in high school, because the main reason I was good at basketball was that I hit 6 feet in middle school.
There you go.
And I'm 6'2" right now, so I didn't really grow much more after that. So I was just taller and stronger than everyone else, which was a huge advantage at that age. And then I wasn't good at shooting or dribbling. I could set picks, and I could knee people in the quadricep and get fouled out of games pretty easily.
Draymond Green over here. That's what you were.
And it worked.
Right.
Yeah, sophomore year, I think was my last full year of playing basketball. And then senior year, I tried out wrestling and was really, really bad. And I tried out discus, which I was mediocre at best at, but at least it was something. And yeah, that's pretty much my short athletic career.
Right. But you were always into like training and working out at that point though, right?
Yeah, always into training. So sophomore year or junior year, I got cut from varsity basketball, and they wanted me to play JV. And I was a bit of a hothead, as like you probably infer, because I was just talking about kneeing people in the quadricep in basketball and getting fouled out. I was a bit of a hothead, and I didn't want to play JV, so I just quit basketball because screw that, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I just focused on lifting, because I thought getting stronger and stronger was more beneficial than, maybe being able to hit a free throw.
Is that what led you to kind of Springfield, more the strength, like being known for strength conditioning and everything along those lines?
Yeah, so my cousin, when did he graduate? I forget. My cousin was an athletic trainer. He went to Springfield.
Okay.
So he was, that's how I heard about Springfield originally, is he graduated when I was young. He was working for BC football at the time. And that's how I learned about athletic training and strength conditioning, was through him, because I knew those things existed. And then it was, what's the best place I can go to? Probably Springfield College. Okay, let's go to Springfield College. Tore it, liked it, went. That's pretty much how it went.
Yeah, I mean, it's straightforward to the point, but I mean, it makes sense too, especially because you're interested in it, and a lot of having those connections there too. Where did you live before you went to Springfield? Were you local?
So I'm from a small town called Holliston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So if you know where Framingham is, it's kind of in there. Just a bunch of horse farms.
I have a nice story for you when we jump off about Framingham, because there's some stuff going forward, but
nice.
It would be interesting. Yeah, a lot of so. But that being said, so you go to Springfield, you obviously get into strength conditioning, that side. Did it click instantly, or because you said you knew you wanted to get into that? Did it reaffirm that once you got into the program and started to do that?
Oh yeah, for sure. So probably the best thing about Springfield College was the faculty was awesome, and the opportunities were really great, but just having like-minded people around was the biggest thing, because my roommate was Nick Hadge.
Dude, I had him on early in the series, and I want to have him again. He's just the man. I love Nick.
Oh, great, phenomenal. But so I had him, which means I had to do iron sports. So I had all the iron sports people around. I think it was the second day of intro to exercise science, and we're still learning, meeting people and learning each other, who everyone is, what they're like, trying to figure out this whole college thing. And the assignment was just bring in a research study about strength and conditioning. It could be whatever you want, just so we start talking about stuff. And I brought in one. It was a pretty basic study about accommodating resistance. And Andrew Triana is sitting I think 3 rows behind me and off to the right. And we're just going around the room, and everyone has pretty basic stuff like mine. And then he like has this in-depth article on like how zinc impacts the muscle. And like it was a super long thing.
Andy is literally, when I interviewed Andy, it was literally like, I think I'm decently knowledgeable, like XFIT. It made me feel like I've never looked at a book in my life, because it was just like, it's like it's so incredible. You know, it's just, if you want someone to coach you in that stuff, he's the man to do it, because it's just so in depth. But it's incredible. He loves that, man. He's just
He does a great job of like actually breaking it down where you can understand it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he'll dumb it down to my level to make sense, so it works. But yeah, like you can go ahead. Yeah, it's crazy because you have Nick Hadge, you got Zach Hadge, you got Andy Triana, you got Rob Kern, you got all these like just savages, man, like savages. So it's cool. Like, so obviously you're in exercise science, you have all those people. That's like your first assignment. So like you know, it must have motivated you to be around like those kind of motivated people.
Yeah, I mean, it just raises the bar. Like if you're around people who want to get after it like that all the time, and even from, I mean, they're all athletic beasts and stuff like that, but even from an academic standpoint of like they want, like, especially Andy and I mean, Nick too, but especially Andy, where it's just like he wants to learn everything and he's driven to like by this goal to learn exactly this and like figure everything out that he can. And if you're around that all the time, how can you not like at least get like some byproduct of that? It's like, oh, I should probably be reading too. I should probably be figuring stuff out too.
Yeah. So you go through Springfield, right? And then you got every part of the program. You got to do an internship. You went to Harvard, right? Was that your big one? So,
yeah, that was my big one.
That was your big one. So how was your experience at Harvard, and kind of was it more of like the athletics, working with like the strength teams there? You know, if so, just kind of how was that experience going into that kind of setting?
That was awesome. So that was kind of where I just back it up a little bit. Like, so like senior year, I was kind of like debating if I wanted to be private sector or if I wanted to be like collegiate strength and conditioning. I had no idea the area where I exist now in high school even existed. I didn't know that was a thing. So I was debating between private sector and collegiate. I was kind of going back and forth. And then I was just like, you know what? Let's just try it. Let's just go somewhere relatively local that has a lot of teams. I can get a ton of experience and figure it out. And so I applied to Harvard. I applied to Harvard during my sports nutrition class. And by the end of the sports nutrition class, I was accepted to the Harvard internship program.
Really?
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, Harvard looks good. Let's just, like, I had no idea who had been there before. I was like, yeah, screw it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's pretty reputable university. I had no idea that they had so many sports. And so that was the thing. It was like it's like 40-something sports, like 40-something varsity sports. So they have everything from like water polo to like football. So it runs the gamut. So like you have like tennis people, you have squash people, you have every type of sport. You have fencing in there, downhill skiing, cross-country skiing. You have everything that you can think of that you ever might get exposed to in terms of like a college training conditioning place. And so it was just hands-on all the time, which was great, and I loved it. It was the best thing.
And so it had to be weird in general. I mean, to interrupt you, but it had to be weird because you're going in probably thinking traditional sports. The next thing you know, you're writing a program for squash or water polo. It's like, what the heck? They're like trying to coach people through it. It had to be weird. Yeah,
a little bit. I mean, like, I don't know how much people have told you about me. I know we know each other a little bit, but I'm a pretty weird dude.
Well, so I'm like, we did outdoor pursuits and all that stuff. So like,
oh yeah, you were one of my kids.
Yeah, I did like I remember being part of that, so I got to see a bit of you, with Ted and Brent and all those. So that was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, but it was just so like outdoor pursuits as a whole. That's probably my favorite part of Springfield, but we can get into that later if you want.
Yeah, but touch base.
Yeah, no, Harvard gave me like it was so much fun because I got to work with so many teams. And they let me coach and like actually do things. As opposed to I've heard some horror stories of like some other internships where you just kind of give them towels and protein shakes and that's about it. Harvard really hammered in like you're going to coach, you're going to do stuff, you're going to have to learn and prove that you know what we're all about, and then you can coach, but you're definitely going to coach. And that was the biggest thing because I actually got like an appreciation for what college strength conditioning actually is. So like I always like, I mean, now that I'm quote quote older, I'm only 26, but now that I'm older, like it's like looking back, I can see like I definitely in Springfield, like I had like an ego, like I thought I knew everything about like strength and conditioning and like looking back, like I learned a lot of like hows and like what's. So like how you implement conjugate training, like what it is and all that stuff. But I didn't really take time to learn like whys and whens. So like why you would use this for this specific, like use this modality for this athlete, and when you'd put it in a program so it actually had like makes sense. I didn't actually, I don't know, I just never like really, that never really clicked. And then being in the collegiate strength and conditioning setting for that internship where it's like you've got like 4 or 5 different teams in this one facility at once. How do you coordinate all of these things while still making sure you get a good training effect and the teams don't like clash or like get in mixed up with each other and like everybody stays on task? It was crazy.
Well, it's got to be. You know, you have so many moving parts, and like you said, at Springfield, smaller school, but like great school, but you know, it's a smaller community, not as many sports. You know, you're one of the students, you're one of the stronger students there for sure. So it's easy to kind of fall into that, like, you know, I'm doing really well, I know a good amount, and then you walk into something like that, and it's like, whoa, all right, like there's a lot more to this than you initially thought. So it's humbling, I'm sure, to an extent. Even if you didn't have an ego or anything going into it, it's just an eye-opening experience in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so you did the internship there. Where did you go right after there? Did you go right into work somewhere, or you know, what was that? You know, how did that work?
Yes and no. So I kind of went through. This is about like when I become a ghost and like no one knows anything about me anymore. It's kind of like where all my information drops off.
We're gonna learn something.
I stay dark. So after
no one will watch this anyway, so you're good. You'll still stay dark.
Yeah, there we go. No one knows where I am. Undisclosed location. Anyway.
Yeah.
So after Harvard, I'd been humbled a little bit by Harvard and like what I was just talking about, but I still had like a pretty big ego. So I was applying to like all of these strength and conditioning positions. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I know like all there is to know. Like, it's totally fine. No interview denied. No interview denied. No interview denied. It's like, okay, well maybe I'll just like apply to this like random like. I think it was a hospital that it was a hospital Hoey was working at. They had a position open for exercise specialist. And so I applied for that, and I was like, "Yeah, I know you're overqualified. We don't want you. You'll just leave in like a few days." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I was kind of in this like lost state. Like my confidence was shot, and I forgot to touch upon it earlier, but because it is a part of my coaching career, is like I was doing CrossFit for a little bit.
Yep.
And so I ended up just coaching CrossFit and coaching these because I was a part of Iron Sports, so I had some strongman background, although I was never good at it. I was coaching these like strongman classes for a local CrossFit gym, which then evolved into me coaching CrossFit classes full time. And I was kind of in this sort of like this lost era of my life where I was like coaching CrossFit to get by, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. Didn't fully agree with the methodology anymore. I was kind of just, it was kind of like a job to have a job. And I loved the people that I was coaching, and I had these great relationships, but I was trying to just find something to do. And so I kind of took like the semester off, and then I ended up interning for Jeff Oliver at College of the Holy Cross. And that was really fun. And that really opened my eyes to like just different types of coaching and like different types of coaches versus like, I'm a lot more like introverted until I coach. So like no one knows anything about me. Like I said, I just kind of live, well, not by myself. I have Alyssa, but just kind of live where no one knows and no one can find me. And then eventually when I coach, people find me. It's kind of how my life works. But when I was with Ollie over at Holy Cross, it was very like, he coached in a way that I'd never really seen before, where it was almost like when you see like a fully like self-actualized person. Like he knows who he is, he knows what he's about, he knows almost everything about himself, and he just owns it as he coaches. So it's just a complete like extension of his personality, and it's like really awesome to see. It's like he's not trying to put on a show or anything like that. It's just who he is, and that was like a big like, wow, I'm a shitty coach.
Yeah.
Damn. And so that's kind of like when I started like really like more delving into the communication and more like sort of personal development stuff. So up until that point, all I'd really done is like just different strength and conditioning books and research. I never really took time to really learn like how to talk to people or like learn sort of what my values or like how my morals like impact how I deal with people or like how I coach or anything like that. So that kind of started that whole aspect of like learning how to be like an actual coach and not just learning how to be a strength and conditioning guy.
Right. I think that plays it, man. I love that you said that, because I think there's so many coaches, and it's not talked about enough, maybe even in school. You could write the best program in the world, the best nutrition program in the world, but if you don't learn how to like mentally motivate someone and intrinsically motivate someone and connect with them, it's like they're not going to perform the way you want, because like you got to have that relationship, of just being able to coach them and motivate them and work with different individuals, and not just always it's about the best program, because if you can motivate someone and then inspire them to want more, that plays such a big factor, it does.
Oh, sure.
So you basically do the Holy Cross internship. What happens after Holy Cross?
So after Holy Cross, or while I'm at Holy Cross, I applied to Merrimack College to go get my master's. Get accepted there. Then I have a few choices of where I want to go for like my quote quote fellowship. So it's like most of the people doing strength conditioning or exercise science there, or athletic training, you're usually assigned to one of a bunch of different fellowships. You could work for the school, you could be going to like different areas, different schools around the area, you could be going to like a private sector place. And so I chose Mike Boyle strength and conditioning. So I essentially had about a year of being like an unpaid intern at Mike Boyle strength and conditioning, where I was just getting my master's and also like working there, shadowing there for a while. And that was an awesome experience. And then once my master's ended and I graduated, I just kind of got hired on full time at Mike Boyle strength and conditioning.
Yeah, that's cool. Because everyone I think in the strength world knows Boyle from, everyone maybe knows him at a surface level of like, oh, he's been with the Bruins, he's been with the Red Sox, he's been with like all these big teams. But it's cool. And then, so primarily at Boyle, is you primarily working with athletes? Is it a little bit of Gen Pop? Is it, what kind of population are you working with Boyle?
A little bit of both. So I had a cool job at Boyle. So all the jobs are cool, but my position was pretty fun. So they had a contract where they had a fairly local Catholic school that would contract Mike Boyle strength and conditioning, and then Mike Boyle strength and conditioning would send 2 coaches out there. So I got hired on. I worked the summer where I just had a bunch of athlete groups just going all the time. I was working a ton. It was great. And then when the summer lets up, kids go back to school, so there's a lot less hours. So I took this other position through Mike Boyle, where I was a strength and conditioning coach at Malden Catholic. And then in my off hours, so that would be from like it was 2 to 6, or maybe 2 to 6 or 3 to 7, I forget. One of those. I was there at Malden Catholic, and then in my off times, I could do personal training, or I'd have Gen Pop, like general population groups at Mike Boyle strength and conditioning. So I was doing a whole mix of stuff. So I was doing that for about a year and a half, and then I got hired on at Groton School, where I am now, and then I just recently left Mike Boyle strength and conditioning, and now I'm just at Groton School.
Cool. So that's interesting. I didn't know you left Boyle's, because I think the last time I like talked to you, or not necessarily talked to you, but like kind of was touching base with other people, you were there. At Groton, so exactly at Groton, are you like the strength coach there? Is that how that works?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm the only guy.
Great. So you kind of run the show then. You have your own systems in place. You can do your own thing. And has that been really cool to like take the reign and be able to create what you want to create?
Yeah. So when I was at Malden Catholic, it was awesome, because it's kind of like the position where you have like the most freedom, where like, yes, we're using like, we're representing Mike Boyle strength and conditioning. So like we're using those programs and like all of those like philosophies, which I still hold anyways. All those philosophies, but you kind of like get a little bit more freedom, because there's no like head coaches like standing behind you looking at what you're doing. So at Malden Catholic, I had a little bit more freedom, and now I just have pretty much free reign to do whatever. And like I have a great athletic training staff and a great athletic department that are all behind me and they work with me. And I can run my sort of off-season programs however I see fit, as long as it fits in with all the scheduling. Sure. And then in-season teams, it's kind of a collaboration between me and the sports coach of A, how many training sessions can we actually get in, and B, how the kids are feeling, and C, kind of where the scheduling all works out.
That's cool, man. I didn't know that. It's exciting. I'm happy for you. It's gotta be a cool feeling, doing your own thing for the most part.
Oh,
so
sure.
we touched base a little bit on it, and I want to go back to it because obviously it's something you've been doing for a long time, and it was when we were at Springfield. There's the outdoor pursuits. So flip back to that a little. I want to talk about it because even like when I brought it up, you were like, you can tell you just enjoy talking about it and like it.
Mhm.
What did you like about outdoor pursuits? Like the first time you went through it, did it click with you that, this is something I want to be part of, I want to be, do, and what were the reasons why you had a good time doing it, and it was, such a cool thing for you?
Well, initially, what really clicked for me was like, I was in a tent with all of like my best friends at school. And so like, I was like just picture Nick Hadge sleeping in a cot in a tent. And so like, it was just all of us kind of like in like, it's 2 tents obviously, but it was just so much fun. And like every day I would go do what I ended up eventually teaching, strength and nature. And it was Dr. Pat Davidson and Robert Kearney, who were both good friends of mine at the time. So it's like, I just get to go like lift things and throw things around the woods, and I'd come back and eat, and then I'd run around a little bit and play some games and chase some like cross balls off in the woods.
Oh yeah,
come back.
I'm so competitive with that. So I get it.
That part was so much fun. But then the part that like really, really clicked was when we hit chapel. So there's a piece during Outdoor Pursuits where like it really hangs in on the sort of the upside down triangle of Springfield College with their spirit, mind, and body. There's the part of the chapel, sort of the Chapel of Living Trees, where it really hits on that spiritual part. And like like I said, I'm pretty much a ghost and no one really knows much about me, which is kind of fun, but I am a very spiritual person. And so that was the like real catalyst, was like sitting there sort of like almost in this like meditative state, really like thinking about everything that's going on with the weekend and like really thinking about everything that happened in that whole past year. Because it's the first year of college, so much stuff happened. Really kind of like meditating and like really like deeply focusing on that and just being surrounded in that sort of area. That really clicked for me. It's like, okay, I'm going to come back here. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back here. And then next year came around, they picked me up. And when I was a camper, I was in the North unit. Had a great time, loved everyone there. Didn't really move around to the other like units, didn't really introduce myself or anything. When I became a staff member, they put me in the West unit, and I had Ted France.
Dude, I love Ted. I love Ted.
I think I learned more about coaching, like looking back and like realizing what he was talking about and everything like that. 'Cause like, Jeff Oliver was a big like catalyst for me of like figuring out how to coach. But I think I actually learned more about coaching from Ted France than anyone else.
That's awesome.
Just like simplifying things, making things like actually like fun, and like again talking about like a self-actualized person, like really like just owning their craft and owning what they're doing. Ted was like number one.
I took Ted's class, and it was part of the exercise science. I don't know if you took the same one. It was like motor learning. Did you take that?
Yeah, it's not behind you.
Yeah, so like it's funny. I literally say to this day, there's something I never forget that Ted said, and it sticks with me so much from like the first day of classes. And I love his teaching style. It was like 2 exams, just participation, like very simple. He was like, I want you to interact. I want you to talk. We're not just going to focus on paper. And I just said like, this is one of my favorite quotes ever. And now I'm like forgetting how, what I want to say. But like the first day, he sits everybody down, and what the frick does he say, man?
Oh, can't teach you anything?
What?
The I can't teach you anything speech?
Yes, that's the speech. Jeez, I'm crow. But like literally sits you down. It's like, I can't teach you anything. Basically the whole speech and the whole concept is that like he just can create an environment for you to learn. So a good teacher creates an environment to learn. I was like, whoa, that makes so much sense, because as a strength coach,
what we do.
that's what you do as a strength coach. You're not like, you have to create an environment that they want to train in, that they are motivated to be in. You're not trying to just drill them and it's just such a wild concept, but it makes so much sense, and that stuck with me, and that was like made him my favorite professor by far, just out of the simple fact he just like even breaking down like how to throw a baseball, like the mechanics of it, the motor learning, just everything he did. It was great. So anyway, but you were talking about being, having him influence you, as a coach and everything. And then you came back every year, and it was most likely, was it just because your experience was so well and you wanted to be part of like trying to make that for other people?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like I loved Outdoor Pursuits and everything that happened. I want to make sure well, I just like being in the woods, so that part was awesome. But I wanted to make sure like people always had that sort of like as good of experience that I had. I just wanted to influence as many kids as possible to do it.
I'm curious about this question because, I'm like, people always debate like if you regret things and looking back now, but not in a regret standpoint. But if you could go back to like your 16 to 18-year-old self and give, yourself some advice that might be helpful to maybe help you get to where you are now, what would that be?
Ask for help.
Yeah.
It's still one of my, probably the thing I hate most. It's like I know I still have an ego and stuff like that. Like I know I'm very aware of my own shit, so to speak. But like even like in like very like personal like deep situations, like I would refuse to ask for help. I was like, no, I'll figure it out. I'll get through. I always get through. I always figure it out. I always fight through. It's fine. And it's okay to ask for help. And actually, it's good to ask for help because you can start making these connections that might help down the road.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest thing by far.
I can relate to that for sure. I'd rather live in a trash can on my own than ask for like money,
Yep.
to survive. It's like
Yep.
I'll eat shit, if I have to do it, like just to get by. When really there's probably a better way. But it's like you said, it's ego of like I'm gonna make it on my own and I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, man. And just a couple last questions I have for you. So, after going through this, long journey of trying to figure yourself out and going through the ups and downs of it, you talked about a time where I 100% felt the same thing. And it's been the last year and a half for me is you've kind of felt lost. You felt like things weren't falling into place for a while. Um, was there things you did to stay like motivated and continue moving forward? Because obviously, I'm sure you went through like lower points or you second guessed a lot of what you're doing, maybe. And like, how did you get through that time? How was that, for you in general?
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'm pretty lucky where I don't know if she can hear me right now, but so like I have Alyssa. So me and Alyssa have been together since. I mean, I've wanted to be with Alyssa since freshman year, Springfield College, but it took a little while to get there
Right.
until senior year where she was on board. But so I mean, I had her the entire time where I was going through that, like this sort of like this, like not the darkest period of my life, but like a fairly like dark, like no self confidence. Like, do I even know what I'm talking about? Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm just kind of going through motions at this point. But then I would go visit her, and like that would be gone for at least like a day or two because I'd be focused on like what we're doing there. Like I try to be very in the moment, so I'm out of my own head. I'm there with her. It's great. Like we'll go do something, and like life's great. And then I go back to work, and I love coaching. And then I finish coaching, and I'm like, do I really want to be like in this spot the whole time? It would kind of go through that cycle over and over again. And then eventually it's just like, let's just go do something fucking stupid. Just like, fuck it. See what happens.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen. And that's where I was just like, I know it's a good internship. Let's just go do Holy Cross. Let's see what happens. I can't just keep going through this cycle over and over again where I have these highs where like when I'm coaching or I'm with Alyssa, like having a great time, I have these lows and these highs and these lows. Like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go do something.
Yeah.
And then from there, I found out about Merrimack. And then from there, Merrimack led me to Boyles. And it's just, you have to step off a ledge. You just have to do something. You can't just go through the cycle over and over again.
You got to be willing to be uncomfortable, and I think that's the scary part is I think everyone at a young age has the expectations to have things planned out and know exactly what's going to happen. And you just have to kind of just be like, all right, at this time and moment, what's the best decision and roll with it and just see what happens. Because at the end of the day, you only can control so much and everything's never going to go as planned. Simple as that. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. I appreciate you sharing that because I think that's impactful to people to see like you and a lot of eyes of a lot of people, not only from the ones I talk to that are being successful, running strength conditioning thing with in this whole thing, and to see that like there was a time where you're like second guessing it or maybe struggling with it. So I think there's a ton of value in that. So last question I have is and you can kind of take it in any direction you want, is like about impact. I talk a lot about impact and trying to help other people and and I guess what you can take it in any direction you like, whether it's coaching, whether it's life, whether it's whatever. It's like, what kind of impact are you trying to have right now?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I like high school so much. There's just so much opportunity to impact the kids. And it's like I'm impacted. One of the reasons I like Groton so much is because they focus on like the whole student. So it's not just the athlete. They're not just focused on getting them like we're a very small school. They're not just focused on like let's win championships, let's do all that. They're focused on how does athletics impact kids? How does it help develop kids? What do they learn from it? Stuff like that. And so I found one of the reasons I liked college was because they're at a very like not multiple age, but a very like influential age where you can have a huge impact, especially as a strength coach. The strength coach technically has like the most time with athletes. You have a huge impact on college athletes. Then I started working with high schoolers more and more, and I realized that strength and conditioning coaches had probably one of the biggest impacts on my life when I was in high school between Kevin O'Neill and Leanne Blinn. So let's try this out. And just talking with the kids, and like they're starting to like really figure out like not really like who they are, but like how to interact with people. Like, you ever interact with a middle schooler? It's them doing like flossing and different Fortnite dances and TikTok dances over and over again.
Right.
High schoolers are starting to like figure out, oh yeah, that's not actually how you communicate. Weird. They're starting to sort of develop and figure out stuff. And so being that person that they can like talk to and learn from, especially with something so important as like fitness, where they're going to be able to use this like for the rest of their life. So like I structure my off-season programs where yes, like athletic development is like a big factor, but it's also talking about health, because I have some kids who just don't want to play a sport that season and they want to come to me instead. And so a lot of it's just about developing healthy habits and like figuring out how to use resistance training to help you later on in life, figuring out how to use different conditioning modalities to help you on later on in life and make sure you're a healthy person, and how that also impacts like your brain health, your emotional health, and all of that. So in high school, there's just a big area of effect where you can do so much and have so much impact just because like they're in this constant state of learning and sort of figuring out who and where they are in life.
Yeah, I love that. I think I couldn't agree more. For me, it's very similar. It's just that time, everyone is so influenced. So if you can make an impact at that time, to your point, you can really be important to them moving forward in a lot of things, decisions that they make. So it's cool, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk and tell a little bit about your story and, you know, open people to your hidden life a little bit, you know, I guess. But no, man, I appreciate you coming on for sure.
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if someone does want to get in contact with you, is there a good place to do it? Email, Facebook, anything like that?
Yeah, Instagram's probably the best. Instagram or email. So Instagram is coach_CJ_Harper. Cool. That's probably the easiest one. Or if they want to send me an email, if they want to do it a little bit more old school, it's just charper0013@gmail.com. Cool. Might as well throw this out there. I do online training as well as this whole like high school strength and conditioning thing. So if anyone's interested in that, feel free to contact me for that. But if you have any questions about high school strength and conditioning or private sector strength and conditioning, I'm happy to help in any way.
Cool, man. Yeah, we'll put all your info in there for sure, so people can reach out if they need to. So cool, man. Well, thanks again for coming on, everybody. Till next time, be kind, chase discomfort. I'll see you guys soon.